everybody. Today is this is video number 4. Oh my goodness. Okay, so today we're going to be focusing on double embossing. And I'm not really sure why I was showing y'all my clear one. We're going to be using the Ranger, I think it's platinum, liquid platinum embossing powder. So I'm just going to prep my paper with the EK Success powder. And I decided that for the front I wanted to have that pre-stamp because that wasn't what the focus of the video was going to be about. So I was just showing you that real quick. So I'm taking my stamp, which is actually from the Stamp of Approval box. I want to say not the last one, but the one prior with the Gina K stamp set that she designed for the Stamp of Approval box. It has this beautiful stamp on it that I'm absolutely in love with. So I wanted to use it for the embossing. So I'm just inking it up, the stamp, with the Versamark ink. And because I'm doing an A2 size card, it's only going to take about 4 stamps because that first piece I showed you, the circle, is going to go right in the middle. So I'm not worried about the center, just making sure that I change up the direction of the stamp for each of the 4 corners. And to help with placement and making sure that I don't misstamp somewhere on the first 2 here, I'm just going ahead and getting them covered with the embossing powder, basically. And then we're going to do the other side. So I'm going to ink it up again. And we're going to go ahead and stamp it down. So the double embossing is going to be obviously with the embossing powder, which is what they call heat embossing, because you're going to have to use a heating tool to melt it. And then the second part of the embossing is we're going to run it through an embossing folder through our die cut machines. So it's not only going to have the heat embossing, but it'll have the whole entire paper will have an embossed pattern on it as well. It's really an awesome technique. If you guys, take a moment and try this, please share your photos either on Facebook, and you can just hashtag it like double embossing or something like that, because it's super fun and it really does create a fun technique on the card. And I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, people like Gina K and Jennifer McGuire, probably even Christina Werner, a lot of them have been doing this particular process or have done it. So if you're familiar with them, you can check them out as well. But I'm just, I wanted to share my take on it. Okay, so once I get all the powder laid down, then I just get my heating tool. Make sure you prep it by letting it run for just a few seconds before actually putting it on the embossing here itself. Now this particular one, I don't know if you guys noticed, I used to have one that was black and white with pink, and it kaput on me. It died. So I borrowed this one from my mom's side of the craft room, and this particular model, let me tell you, I think it's by Doris. It gets very hot. So it doesn't take long for the embossing powder to melt. And everybody always says, be careful, don't overheat the embossing powder, you don't want to burn it, or, I think the most important thing is you don't want to burn your paper, because especially on white paper, it's very easy for you to get like scorch marks if it gets too hot. So once you're done heating it up, heat it from the back to minimize the warping. But with this technique, you actually don't even have to worry about the warping. Why? Because we're getting ready to run it through the embossing folder, right? So I picked up embossing folder. I want to say this one is also by Doris. And it's one that I like. It has a pattern that covers the entire page. I think one of the ones I may try another time will be like the Swiss dots or something like that. But you can see this one has more of a not a damask, but it's something similar to that type pattern. So on the Cuttlebug, it's going to be 2 B plates and your A plate to run it through an embossing folder. And the great thing with these is you don't have to run it through a whole bunch of times. The amount of pressure that you have is perfect. And then I'm going to try and hold it up real close here so you can see the pattern from the embossing folder on top of our heat embossing. Isn't it stunning? It's so cute. I love it. I love how it works. And I may even try this with different papers, you know, like on a craft, what it would look like with heat embossing and going through the embossing folder. You can try it with black. I don't know how that would work, but that could be interesting. Or even with vellum. So, because of the dry embossing, which is through the embossing folder, I'm going to use foam tape to put this on the card. And that's only because of the texture. You don't want to have to worry about the ATG tape or your, you know, snail tape or whatever it is you're using not sticking. It just makes for, you know, better adhesion. So we're just going to go ahead and use some of our tape here and attach the sentiment, which is from the same stamp set. And let's see here, we're going to go ahead and put those together and attach it. And using some of the same foam, because like I said, you know, now we have that texture, and I don't want, if I'm giving this to somebody, I don't want it to separate, okay? So we have the butterfly from the stamp set, the beautiful flowers that we used on the embossing, and for the sentiment it says, "Let your smile change the world." Alright everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and please share. And I will see you guys tomorrow with our next video. We'll have at least 3 more, so that'll be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and to conclude our week of videos, and then we'll start back with our regular schedule the following Tuesday. Okay, so definitely keep watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow.